Discerning Hearts presents In Search of the Still Point with Dr. Regis Martin. In this episode, Dr. Regis Martin reflects on having a lovely Lent, are we? A lovely Lent, are we?
Can you believe it? It hasn't even started yet, and I'm already tired of it, sorely tempted to throw in the towel. I'm talking about Lent, of course. You know the drill. Remember that you are dust, and unto dust you shall return. Who needs it? And what I want to know is, when will it all be over? Isn't that hilarious? It's scarcely begun, and here I am wishing it were done. How pathetic is that? But what can I say? The life of mortification is not for me. Prayer, penance, these are pleasures I could easily forego. As for giving up stuff, why do I have to do that? Isn't life austere enough without adding still more deprivations of appetite? I remember years ago asking a colleague what sacrifice he'd be making for Lent. Taking cold showers, he said, smiling. It fairly froze my blood. Left me quite speechless, too, especially when he asked what I'd be doing. Should I have told him about the sugar I'd be leaving out of my morning cup of tea, followed by constant grousing in the face of so intolerable a sacrifice? How that used to drive my wife crazy. I don't care what you give up, she'd say, so long as you give up complaining about it. Well, that was a bit much. Like telling Donald Trump to give up tweeting, or the Democrats to stop doing whatever it is that drives him to tweet. When it comes to slackers, however, my father was in a class all by himself. His Lenten discipline was to go without watermelon, which of course he never ate anyway. So how heroic was that? Like asking a vegetarian, "So, how's it going, Fred, abstaining for 40 days from sausage and beef burgers?" Well, maybe it's time to look at Lent from a different angle, from the vantage point, say, of Christ, whose absence from our lives is the real reason for the season. The bridegroom, you see, has gone away, and so it is not unnatural that the wedding guests should, in their sad regret at his absence, put on a bit of sackcloth and ash, tighten the belts, as it were, cut out the beer and desserts, the TV, too, oh yes, and the smartphone, and maybe put a period on that morning cup of tea as well. Meanwhile, redeeming the time until he returns. After all, when wandering about in a vale of tears, it makes sense to do without, at least until Easter, when the sun rises and we can all party again. And certainly there is ample warrant from Holy Scripture for doing so. In one of the Gospel readings for Lent, we hear Jesus telling the disciples of John the Baptist, who want to know why they must fast, but not his followers, that so long as the bridegroom and his wedding guests are there to celebrate, it would be unseemly to mourn. But then, he adds, the days will come when the bridegroom is taken away from them. Then they will fast. Well, he's no longer here, having been taken away. And so fasting becomes an essential exercise in self-abnegation, a modest hardship we freely take on in order to awaken the juices that for too long have been languishing in hibernation, and thus quicken the desire for Christ, he who has gone away for a while. Besides, it is not right that he be taken from us, his glorified body returned to the Father, and yet suspended between two poles, that of past presence when Jesus moved among us, and future parousia, which is the promised apotheosis on the other side of history. We live in hope, grateful for the few Lenten rigors to remind us of our emptiness until he comes again. And so, by all means, ask God to train you in the ways of self-denial, that you might stir up that longing for Jesus, which lies hidden beneath not a few of those pleasures you might put on hold for the next 40 days. You can do this. Thanks for listening. This is Regis Martin in search of the still point.
You've been listening to Dr. Regis Martin in search of the still point. For more episodes in this series, visit discerninghearts.com, or you can find it in our free Discerning Hearts app or on many other streaming platforms. Discerning Hearts is a 501c3 nonprofit Catholic apostolate dedicated to evangelization and spiritual formation through the use of new media. To learn how you can support our mission, visit discerninghearts.com.